Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code Ahsoka in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the Force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope we're all doing well, and in this video we have a new reveal into the regards of Ahsoka, especially with Morgan Elsbeth and her overall character, and we're going to also be discussing what this may mean for the future of the Mandoverse, with a potential possible either Ahsoka Season 2 or also discussing the Thrawn movie that's being directed by Dave Filoni that was announced and confirmed at the beginning of this year at Star Wars Celebration. Okay, so let's hop into it. Deanna Lee, who is the actress behind Morgan Elsbeth in the Ahsoka show, also seen in The Mandalorian Season 2, had recently taken to speak at length about her role in the Ahsoka Disney Plus show, as well as the one specific plot point that she had specifically requested while actually filming the show. Disney Plus's Ahsoka brought the fan favorite Dave Filoni created hero into the spotlight with her very own show, finally. Rosario Dawson gave her life to the title role as the iconic Jedi fought to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn's re-emergence, and seemingly kind of failed at it at the same time. But that's okay, because that sets up and paves the way for a possible potential Ahsoka Season 2, as I had mentioned, and also seeing things unfold in the Thrawn movie. Anyway, one of the many mercenaries working for Thrawn was Morgan Elsbeth, a descendant of the Night Sisters of Dathomir, as revealed throughout the Ahsoka show. And in the Ahsoka finale episode 8, the Night Sisters living on Peridea had bested Elizabeth with the mysterious and powerful blade of Talzin, which she then used to pitch a combat against Ahsoka Tano, and seemingly also at the same time led to her own fate. And so, this actually may mean a lot more than we initially thought, and for also what we may see going forward in the future. Recently speaking to the official Star Wars website, Deanna Lee, who played Morgan Elsbeth in both Ahsoka and The Mandalorian Season 2, had discussed her character's death in the show's final episode. And I'm going to go ahead and put an emphasis on quote-unquote death, because it is Star Wars, and it feels like every other Star Wars character that's stabbed or dies always seems to come back some way or somehow. I don't really think that to happen with Morgan Elsbeth, but I'll discuss more about that in just a moment. As Thrawn's Star Destroyer prepared for the jump to hyperspace, that would then take Grand Admiral Thrawn and the rest of his crew to their home galaxy. Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth were still on planet side, battling in a blur of illuminated blades. And so, throughout their duel, eventually, Lady Tano gained the upper hand and sliced across Elsbeth's abdomen, killing her with not only her own lightsaber, but also Elsbeth's own weapon taking a hold of it, the Sword of Talzin. As it turned out, this was actually a specific request on part of Deanna Lee. Deanna Lee says that, in quote, Ming came up with the idea of taking the spine of the Talzin blade and using it, redirecting the Night Sisters' magic. I wanted so much to have a powerful ending, and I requested that Elsbeth would die by her own weapon. Ending that quote right there. Something I think that also heavily plays and implies into kind of what the Star Wars franchise has always been doing. It also provides more of that all the reason to these actors are some of the biggest Star Wars fans, which I think is so awesome and amazing, and we couldn't be any luckier, to be honest. But as I had mentioned, I think that it also does have that same callback to other Star Wars movies and other Star Wars projects at the same time, of where you have a character like Morgan Elsbeth so enraged, not necessarily a part of the dark side, but a part of the Night Sister magic, I think more specifically, and how that actually comes to blind her and use her own weapon against her, defeating her. And so, Deanna Lee had made reference to the show's stunt coordinator, Ming Q, as well, when discussing Elsbeth's powerful ending. On to where she drew her inspiration for jumping into the character, Deanna Lee looked at the exploits from some of the famous figures in real-world history at the same time, such as specifically Julius Caesar and or Catherine the Great, before beginning to dive into the work that beloved author Timothy Zahn had done within the Star Wars franchise. So not just studying previous Star Wars works, but actually studying real-world works such as Julius Caesar or Catherine the Great is honestly so dang cool. She goes on to say that, in quote, I had tapped into Julius Caesar and Catherine the Great. By the time I found out that I was actually going to be in The Mandalorian, I switched gears and started looking at books written by Timothy Zahn, the creator of Thrawn. Heir to the Empire was really important to me, and of course, Dave Filoni was always amazing about answering my questions. He was always there to explain Morgan's process and what her end goal was actually. I mean, that quote right there. And as I had kind of mentioned there before, I just love how much these actors immerse themselves into a galaxy far, far away to take on the time to study these characters and to study and take on that time of like, okay, how can I take this character and make them better. Continuing on, digging a bit deeper, the actress touched on the distinction between Ahsoka Tano and Morgan Elsbeth, separately comparing and contrasting these two characters, and their response to the past trauma of what they've gone through, noting that the latter was willing to take risks, and that were harmful and hurtful even, as I had mentioned, almost in a reckless way, being blinded by not necessarily the dark side, but in a way, the dark side. I think more specifically in this case, it would have to be the Night Sister magic. Deanna Lee says that, in quote, Ahsoka, one way or another, was able to find her way through the darkness and back into the light. So to speak, Morgan, to me, is a different example of what happens when people have been traumatized. They're willing to take risks in a way that can be harmful and hurtful. And leave that quote right there. I think that that quote is something that seems so simple, but I think that it's implying something so much greater, and as a Star Wars fan, I have to over-speculate and over-theorize, of course. Having those past traumas, what exactly are those past traumas that Morgan Elsbeth has exactly been through? That's all the more reason for why I think that there is still more story to be told with Morgan Elsbeth, and of course the rest of these Ahsoka characters that we've seen throughout her show here as well. I'm not necessarily saying that, oh yeah, she could totally come back, and she could totally come back. That's part of Night Sister magic. If they wanted to resurrect her, they definitely could. I think that would be honestly a really interesting thing to see, and it's not necessarily for what her character has moving forward, if for anything, like if they wanted to resurrect her and like bring her back to life. I think it's more into the question as of to, okay, what exactly was something that had caused her own past previous traumatizing events and parts of her life that kind of made her out to be this way, I think is the question. What was her past exactly like? And so, this here all being said, it certainly seems that Deanna Lee was and has great reverence for her Star Wars character as Morgan Elsbeth, and was able to live inside Morgan Elsbeth's head for a while as she developed the villain's sensibilities and motivations. And as with any cool Star Wars character, it's a shame that Elsbeth had to meet her demise by the close of the season, seemingly. But she did appear in almost every episode as well, and had plenty of spotlight, and one definitely can't forget about her introduction in The Mandalorian. Plus, Deanna Lee herself definitely got her licks in during fight scenes as well, which could definitely come as no surprise. The actress is not only the goddaughter of the legendary Bruce Lee, but the daughter of martial arts icon Dan Inosanto, who worked with everyone from Bruce Lee to Chuck Norris over the course of his career. As such, Deanna Lee is an expert in martial arts as well in her own right, having studied a vast array of combat forms. She also is an accomplished stunt performer in addition to her Star Wars work. So while Morgan Elsbeth's time in a galaxy far, far away has seemingly come to a close, Ahsoka was just a small but memorable segment to Deanna Lee's many achievements. And so, with this here all being said, guys, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to seeing in the future of the Star Wars franchise, specifically especially with the Mandoverse? What do you guys want to see in a possible potential Ahsoka Season 2 and in the Thrawn movie? And do you think that Morgan Elsbeth could return? I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been an official Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.